The grand halls of the Whitmore estate had once echoed with laughter and opulence, but now they carried the heavy silence of time slipping away. At the heart of that quiet stood Alexander Whitmore, once a commanding presence in the world of finance, now a shadow of the man he used to be. 62 years old, diagnosed with an aggressive and untreatable cancer, Alexander was counting his days with the same precision he had once used to build his empire. Despite having wealth that could buy almost anything, there was one thing he never had: someone to carry on his legacy. No wife. No children. No family left. For years, he had lived in solitude, too obsessed with building an empire to notice life slipping by. But something had shifted in the last 6 months. Her name was Lena Rivera, a 24-year-old maid with quiet eyes and a soft spirit. She had come to the estate after her mother passed away, desperate to find work and stability. Alexander barely noticed her at first. To him, she was just another in a long line of staff. But there was something in her, in the way she treated everyone with gentleness, the way she hummed while dusting the library, and the way she left fresh flowers at his bedside without ever saying a word, that began to stir something inside him. One day, as he watched her reading in the corner of the sunroom, an old book from his forgotten collection clutched in her hands, he finally spoke. "You like that one?" he asked, voice hoarse. She startled, not realizing he had entered. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to." He waved a hand. "You can read. That's more than I can say for half the people I used to work with." She smiled shyly and nodded. "It's beautiful. The words feel like music." It was the first of many conversations. Over the weeks, their exchanges grew longer. He learned she had been top of her class in literature before dropping out to care for her ailing mother. He discovered she had never dated, too busy working 3 jobs. He realized, with a jolt, how little he knew of true sacrifice. Lena never asked for anything. She never complained. She simply gave, her time, her compassion, her presence. And as Alexander's body deteriorated, his heart began to awaken. One evening, the sunset casting golden hues across the estate, he asked her to sit beside him. "I don't have much time left," he said bluntly. "The doctors have stopped pretending." She looked at him, her eyes shimmering. "I wasted my life chasing numbers. I never loved anyone, never let myself be loved. And now I'm facing the end, alone." She reached for his hand. "You're not alone." He studied her face, the kindness there, the purity, the quiet strength. "I want to ask you something," he said. "And it's going to sound impossible." Lena blinked, uncertain. "I want you to have my child." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. "Sir." She gasped, unsure if she'd heard him right. "I've spoken to the doctors. There's a way. IVF. You wouldn't have to, it wouldn't be forced. I would never ask that of you. But biologically, I want to leave something behind. And I can't think of anyone better to carry a piece of me forward." She stared at him, stunned. "You're asking me to be your child's mother," she whispered. "Yes. I know it's unfair. But I also know you. You'd raise them with the kindness I never had. You'd teach them to live differently than I did." She looked away, heart pounding. She was a virgin. The thought of motherhood had never even crossed her mind, her life had been about survival, not family. And yet, something in his eyes touched her deeply. Not as a command, but as a plea. A man reaching for redemption. "I can't give you an answer right now," she said softly. "I wouldn't expect one," he replied. Lena couldn't sleep that night. She walked the estate grounds in the moonlight, thinking of her mother, who had died with unfulfilled dreams. Thinking of the children she used to care for as a part-time nanny. Thinking of Alexander, not the cruel tycoon of tabloids, but the broken man who had learned, too late, the value of love. She prayed. For guidance. For strength. For clarity. The next morning, she returned to his bedside. "I'll do it," she said. His eyes filled with tears. "But I have conditions." He raised a brow, surprised. "I don't want your money." His laugh was weak but genuine. "That's a first. I want a home for the child. Stability. Not luxury, love. I want a life of meaning for them. I want to raise them with purpose, not privilege." He nodded, moved beyond words. "I'll have my lawyers draw up everything," he promised. "You and the baby will be taken care of. Not just financially, but emotionally." The process began swiftly. Doctors were discreet, the legal work done meticulously. Alexander's health declined with frightening speed, but in those final months, he transformed. He smiled more. He spent time in the garden. He even began writing letters, to the child he would never meet, each one filled with advice, regrets, and dreams. Lena became more than a maid. She became his closest friend, his confidant, the one person who reminded him what it meant to be human. When the test came back positive, they cried together. "I wish I had more time," he whispered, resting a hand gently on her belly. "But I'm glad, that part of me will live on through you." Alexander passed away quietly one winter morning, the sun streaming through the curtains. Lena sat beside him, holding his hand, reading one of his letters aloud. The funeral was small but dignified. No media. No spectacle. Just a handful of former employees, his lawyer, and Lena, now carrying a child that represented not just a legacy, but a miracle of second chances. Years passed. Lena raised the child. Oliver, with love and wisdom. She read to him every night from Alexander's letters. She told him stories of his father's transformation, how he learned to love before the end. Oliver grew up grounded, humble, and kind. At school, he helped the lonely kids. At home, he volunteered with his mother at shelters. He wanted to make a difference. When he turned 18, Lena gave him the final letter, one Alexander had written the night before he died. "My son. You will hear many things about me. That I was ruthless. That I built an empire. What few will tell you is that I learned the most important lesson too late, that the value of life isn't in wealth, but in the hearts we touch. Your mother saved my soul. She is the strongest, kindest person I've ever known. If you become even a fraction of the human she is, you'll live a beautiful life. Be bold. Be kind. Be better than I was. I'll be watching. With all my love, Dad." That letter became Oliver's compass. He went on to become a doctor, inspired to bring hope where there was none. He often visited patients who had no visitors, remembering how his father once faced death alone. Lena never remarried. She never needed to. Her heart was full. And every year, on Alexander's death anniversary, she and Oliver would walk through the estate garden, now open to the public as a memorial park, and leave a single rose at the old oak bench where it all began. Not out of obligation. But out of love.